In August of 2003, American alpinist John Otto and I, Tim Boelter, embarked on a journey into the heart of China to climb a beautiful mountain called Siguniang.
Be careful! Be careful!
Oh my God!
You may never be able to climb at high altitude again.
I'm afraid because it looks a little black.
You gotta get that taken care of.
You can't show this to my mother, that's all I have to say.
Little did we know how this beautiful mountain would not only become our nemesis, in the end, it would become symbolic for more personal reasons.
Oh shit! We're getting smoked here. John just went through a crevasse.
It's blowing worse and worse. Suggesting him to get down.
Join us on a remarkable adventure where the goal of climbing a mountain is about more than just standing on the summit. At the eastern edge of the Tibetan Plateau lies a remarkable region where mountains rise dramatically above the valleys and their rugged beauty instills awe onto those who come here. Geologically, it's a place of sharp transition where the earth descends almost 12,000 feet from the Tibetan Plateau onto the Chengdu water plain. This is the Sichuan province of southwest China, and home to some of the world's last beautiful and unclimbed peaks. Here, within the Quanglai Mountains, rise 4 peaks that stand side by side. They are called Siguniang, which means 4 maidens. The highest is Yaomei Feng, and she stands at 20,500 feet. Compared with over 5,000 attempts made on Mount Everest, Siguniang, the 4th maiden, has seen a mere 13, and of those, only 4 have been successful. There is no easy way to the summit of this mountain, but for serious mountaineers, Siguniang offers some of the most technical and challenging routes in the world. In 1981, the Japanese first climbed Siguniang via what is now called the Japanese Couloir, which ascends the west face of the southeast ridge and follows the ridge to the summit. In 1992, the Japanese returned again. This time, they climbed the South Buttress. In 1994, American Charlie Fowler made a remarkable solo ascent of the South Face in one day. And in 2002, British climbers Mick Fowler and Paul Ramsden pushed new limits in alpine climbing by ascending a thin ice runnel on the northwest face. 22 years after the first ascent via the Japanese Couloir, it's being revisited. Remote adventures always seem to begin in a big city, and in this case it's Chengdu, China. With a population of over 10 million people, it's the largest western city in China and the capital of the Sichuan province. For John Otto, this is home now.
I came to study in China in 1990 at Peking University. I've lived in China probably 8 years, all added together. I've lived in Chengdu probably three plus of those years, maybe more. China's developing like crazy, and Chengdu is one of those cities that's really taken off. There's a middle class rising in China, mostly on the East Coast, Beijing, Shanghai, cities around Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and all recreational sports are building up in China. And climbing is at the pinnacle of that. The rising middle class are willing to spend the money to learn the skills they need to be safe in the mountains. And that's why we started AAIC, to teach those mountaineering skills required to really go out in the backcountry on your own. Climbing is really developing, and I think still in a little early. It needs a couple years to mature, but we want to get our foot in the door and be the premier outfitter before it really starts taking off.
The last time China experienced such major social and economic reform was under the leadership of Mao Zedong. But now, China is entering a new era, and a market-driven economy is paving the way. Alongside the statue of Mao, there is a McDonald's and a Kentucky Fried Chicken. All these different Western companies are booming over there.
Most of Chengdu is new. Pretty much every street has been redone. It's all been developed into either new housing complexes or other factories. I mean, you would not recognize this city. They knocked down their bridges and rebuilt them. It's all being done by tens of thousands of laborers. Very few machines.
China's door is opening to the world, and the opportunities go beyond just business.
I've kind of invested a lot in China right now, so it kind of makes sense to be here. I'm very good at working in the Chinese culture. I speak Chinese, and they accept you more as a one of them than as an outsider. And that's so important in China, in a culture like that. My partner, Ma Yihua, we often call him Big Brother Ma. That's his nickname. Ma and I run AAIC together. And AAIC stands for Arete Alpine Instruction Center. He used to work in Beijing, right there in the People's Hall. He was in the office in charge of advertising, except they didn't have advertising in China in that time. They called it propaganda. And he left all that and gave it up to climb and has become one of China's premier alpinists.
I first met John back in 2000 on an international expedition to climb the 6th highest mountain in the world, Yu. I was producing a film of the climb, and John was organizing it. Since then, we've become really good friends and started to collaborate on different projects dealing with mountain culture in China and Tibet.
I met Tim on Mount Siguniang when I was putting together that trip, and his first impression on me was kind of a go-getter. He was filming a lot, definitely always trying to get that shot. Always one step ahead of himself is how I could describe it. Tim cruised through that mountain.
So in 2003, as we were heading to Lhasa to begin work on another film project, John suggested we take a 2-week detour and make an alpine-style attempt on a beautiful mountain called Siguniang.
I'm really excited about this climb. In terms of a technical alpine climb, this might be one of the up there most challenging climbs I would have ever done, I would think. One of the reasons we're doing this climb is to train Wamping. It's from the Tibetan parts of Sichuan in many of the different skills he's going to need when he's being a mountain guide for our company.
For me, it's going to be a challenge to film a technical climb such as this, and for these guys, it's a mountain that's never been climbed by a Chinese.
Most Chinese climbers think, oh, it's not possible. Alpine-style mountaineering is still at its infancy right now. The Chinese climbing level hasn't gotten there.
Alpine-style climbing requires both technical rock and ice climbing skills, but more importantly, it requires an understanding of the incalculable uncertainties inherent with climbing in a single committed push up a mountain over 20,000 feet.
Who sits there?
You do. This is called a bread box vehicle, as you can tell from the shape of it. It's very light, small wheels, goes kind of slow.
It'll do, right?
It'll do, as long as you don't hit anything.
How's the rolling characteristics?
Very good.
Rolls good? Rolls good?
Compresses very easily.
Okay.
I left for Rilong town a day ahead of John and Ma. They had just climbed a 20,000-foot mountain and were in good shape. So it was best that I get up to Rilong, which is at 10,000 feet, and get acclimated to the altitude. The Siguniang Mountains are located approximately 220 kilometers northwest of Chengdu, in the Aba Tibetan prefecture of the Sichuan province, and just on the border with the Wolong Panda Preserve. It's quite obvious that over here in China, the most important piece of equipment on a vehicle is the horn. They say on a good day, the drive to Rilong takes about 6 hours, but then I wouldn't know what a good day on the road is in China. For me, the highlight of the drive was stopping at the Wolong Panda Preserve. Fortunately, it's right on the way to Siguniang, and worth the visit.
There are panda bears everywhere here.
You want to touch panda?
I want to touch panda.
Really?
I do want to touch panda.
Feeding panda. Who touch it?
As long as he doesn't eat me. He won't eat me, will he?
We're gonna be with a panda live here.
They're taking care of me. That's the food that he's going to have.
I think this was one of those moments in my life where I absolutely felt like a kid again. There's just something about a panda bear. It's like a big teddy bear.
Ow!
With sharp teeth, of course.
It's okay. Well,
It wasn't much longer after Wolong that we started to climb out of the lush river valley and head toward the Balang Pass. Well, if there's one thing I've learned through the past years of traveling in the Himalayas, you gotta let your driver smoke, and you better enjoy his music. That way, he stays awake, and you make it to your final destination alive.
Rilong used to be a small Tibetan village, I'd say. Once the Siguniang area was developed into a national preserve, a lot of guest houses, hotels have popped up, probably about 10 times the number of buildings there that used to be.
Rilong may have become a bustling tourist town, but life is still simple here.
You coming to dinner tonight? Huh?
Our first evening in town, Wamping took me to a Tibetan folk dance. You could really feel the warmth and hospitality of the people here. The next morning was absolutely brilliant, and unfortunately, this day would be an anomaly compared to the days ahead. I hiked up the ridge above Rilong and followed the green hillside past Buddhist Chortens, and eventually stepped into a high meadow where flowers blanketed the grass and horses grazed freely. Once the veil of clouds lifted from the four maidens, only then did I realize the remarkable beauty of this place. John and Ma arrive with John's sister Tamara and her fiancé Gary. They're visiting from the States and decide to try something off the beaten path. So today, they're going to hike with us up the Champing Valley and to our base camp at approximately 14,800 feet. Once we left the nice boardwalk trail in the valley and started heading up toward the glacier, the trail eventually disappeared altogether.
What's going on, John?
I think our horses are up there.
Okay.
I don't really know. They're going to find them.
We're bushwhacking now. Go from real nice boardwalk trails to this. This is what it's all about.
It was quickly becoming obvious that we were not on any specific trail, whether that be a yak trail or a horse trail. We were basically going straight up this valley in this very dense forest.
对，上面还有，所以它这个，这个要上到那个沟。
这边呢是走的是近路，那边的话你要走就是走，现在走到上干海，再往回走。对，因为他以前日本人走的时候是先走上干海，然后往回走，我们没有必要走，往回走了就是。
The old man knows where he's going. I hope the old man knows where we're going. We're going to follow him and hope he takes us to the right glacier.
So we're lost.
Yep.
All right. Why are you on this trip?
Because my brother is leading the trip, and I wanted to get to come along and see what he does. I've never been up on a glacier or done any kind of serious trekking or mountain climbing before.
Oh, it's great fun.
Okay.
It's hard work, but not hard work in the way I expected it to be hard. Sort of a steady-on affair.
It's challenging climbing because of the climate.
Non-relenting up for over 3,000 feet. And then finally pop up here onto the grasses. cliffs on both sides of the valley. It's beautiful. We're here at 4,450 meters, and we started from down in Rilong village at 3,200 meters this morning.
This is the first time I've ever gone up this high. And I have a slight headache and muscle aches.
I just feel marginal all over. My faculties are not what I know them to be. At the same time, though, I sit here and I'm filled with wonder and excitement. So it keeps my heart going and my mind racing, and I'm going to come away with some stories.
The next day, while Gary and Tamara recuperated at base camp, the climbing team continued up to Camp 1, approximately 2,000 feet higher on the glacier.
There she is, our goal, finally sticking out. It's been raining for the last day and a half.
Because it was midsummer, the glacier was like walking through a maze. We were constantly winding back and forth over these gaping crevasses.
Riddled with crevasses, both sides of me.
Navigating over the glacier might be the least of our problems. The mountain is alive with constant rockfall.
I don't know, it's a shooting gallery up there.
I feel a little tired. We just came up another 500 meters.
How's Ma feel?
还行，
Okay.
还是会很累的。
He said he's pretty tired as well.
Wamping?
哦，还行，不错。
Not bad.
还行。
All right.
Feeling pretty good.
看路，希望上面会好一点。
All right. How are the conditions?
A lot of rock falling off the face, even on our route. So we'll see.
What are we getting ready to do here?
About to go recon the route, explore which way it is up to the small gully that we're going to try to go up. We need to find the route through the crevasses and around the ice blocks.
As long as the weather held, we decided to continue upward, in hopes of establishing a route through the convoluted ice fall.
This whole glacier has changed a lot more than before. It seems to be a lot more crevasses, a lot steeper. I remember just walking up in 95.
We negotiated over and through ice blocks called seracs, and even though the gaping holes and towers of ice around us created an obstacle course, the danger wasn't what we could see, it was what we couldn't see, and that was the hidden crevasses beneath the snow we walked on. So once we started across a wide expanse of glacier, we roped up.
Be careful! Be careful!
John just went through a crevasse.
Wamping's alertness and ability to perform a self-arrest stopped John from going further in the crevasse. If John were not roped up, it could have been disastrous.
When I jumped, my the foot I was pushing off with gave way. The whole surface gave way.
How do you feel, man?
Got a little adrenaline rush.
Absolutely. Nothing like being in an avalanche, Chloe. Lots of rock fall. Getting worse.
So we climbed on, all the while listening to the sound of cascading water and rockfall. There was an unspoken tension among us, but we kept going.
Today we started from the camp, which was at 4,950 meters, which is just at the base of the moraine. And we, with our porters, whoa! I just fell in a hole.
Holy cow!
And even while I interviewed John, the mountain gave us another warning of the impeding dangers ahead.
And we, with our porters, they helped us carry our gear up to almost 5,000 meters up onto the glacier, set our glacier camp, and then we went up here to check out the route. It was a lot more challenging than we thought. And finally we're here at, what is our altitude? 5,237 meters. And that's our route right up there, about another 50 meters. It's going to turn into some class 5 vertical rock.
So after that interview I did with you, what was it, a night ago? What happened?
I got so sick that if you and John weren't there to tell me that I was just suffering from altitude sickness, I would have thought that I would have continued to turn worse throughout the night and actually given up and gone home in darkness.
Well, I got really, really sick. I had over 102 fever.
Did you throw up?
I did.
It was probably the longest night of my life.
Yeah.
But I made it through that night.
Yeah, you did.
And I felt better the next day.
I spent yesterday recovering, and each and every hour I felt better.
Good.
We got up this morning and I felt strong enough to come up.
This mountaineering trip was not made possible by anything that I did myself. It was made possible by those of you who are here and were willing to let us tag along like little puppy dogs. So thanks for all the support. It was wonderful, but it's time to head back down now.
Well, the mountain just keeps falling and falling and falling. It's the most terrifying and most beautiful place I think I've ever seen. It's like quite a combination.
What do you think our odds are of getting up this thing?
Well, you know, I'm John's sister, and I think you should just come home. Because there are too many rocks falling off the mountain.
We decided to continue up, being acutely aware of the dangers around us.
We're going to go up here and try to see if we can find a route with no rockfall in it. Probably one of the steep rock faces.
Only after the climb did we realize that record warm temperatures and extraordinary amounts of rain swept the region, creating some of the most dangerous and unrelenting rockfall in years.
We can't see what's coming down because now it's clouded in. Holy cow, it's just totally alive.
All hell broke loose. It was like the mountain itself was falling. Huge avalanches started pouring down from various gullies around us. The noise was deafening.
It's clear that there wasn't any route that you could safely go up that didn't have any rockfall in it. There was rock coming down from everywhere.
John's gonna send us through the gauntlet.
For us to get to the base of the route, we had to traverse under this huge avalanche chute. And as I was just reaching the midway point across the traverse, luck would have it that the mountain would start hurling rocks down at us.
I just pointed the camera up the mountain. Didn't even look through the viewfinder because I needed to see without any obstruction what was coming down at us.
Some of these boulders were the size of refrigerators, and they were moving fast.
It's all coming at me. It's coming at John too. Oh Lord.
Even the size of a pebble coming from over 100 feet up can cause injury or death. But at this point, I wasn't worried about pebbles. These things were huge.
It's time for me to go. This is way too dangerous. What'd you think about that we just encountered coming up?
That puts doubt in your mind.
That was scary, wasn't it? Had me going. I was shaking.
Yeah, I haven't been on a mountain with so much rockfall.
Yeah, this is bad. Well, we're closer to the face. We're actually right here in the rock runoff, if you want to call it that.
At this point, continuing up was literally a crapshoot.
That's what we're contending with. That's our route. As you can see, John is on his way up.
Given all the other rockfall, I was kind of worried and concerned that definitely could have easily go as well. I was thinking if we could pull through the bottom of this couloir and then get lucky and avoid that a big rockfall, then I was going to do that.
While filming above John, the rockfall suddenly started to pick up.
It sounds big. There's rock going by. Lots of it. Watch out, John!
The largest rockfall that we saw the entire trip came down right on our heads.
Oh my God! We're done.
I was terrified. I remember just standing there, concentrating, watching the boulders, these huge boulders fly at various unpredictable angles, and just thinking, figuring out, where to dodge. This mountain throws a lot of shit at you. Your senses are always kind of on a high alert, so maybe we didn't realize how dangerous or how close we were. If that just happened out of the blue, it might have been more horrifying.
John's okay.
When it was over, I was amazed to see John still standing there.
When it happened here, after everything else that was taken in around us, maybe it numbed your senses in a way. It got you used to the danger.
John, we're going. I'm turning this thing on me. We've just encountered some massive rockfall. I don't know if this thing was recording or not, but we're not doing this side of the mountain. In fact, I don't know if we're even gonna do the mountain, but we've had some major league stuff hit right next to us. John was really fortunate.
Tim was really fortunate. Tim, I recommend that we abandon this route.
Yeah.
And take our gear down as quickly as we can. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Heads up.
Where's it at?
These rocks come from almost 1,000 feet up. They're cruising, I would guess about 100 miles an hour. The rock going that fast, if it hits you, that's the end of it. You're gone.
Oh my God. We shouldn't be here. We're trying to get our stuff out of here. John's packing, I'm watching the mountain. Where's it at? Shit! Oh boy! Oh my God! Look where it landed!
You know, you're a guide, you think, you know, this stuff shouldn't make you afraid, you shouldn't be scared, but it does. I got a hell of an adrenaline rush up there. If it had come, let's say, half an hour later, when I was already up below the root, I think that would have been it. I have never gotten so close to being hit by a rock. You can't show this to my mother, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I think we both felt very fortunate that we were able to turn back. So with our heads still intact, we descended back to camp to rethink our strategy.
We've been on the mountain for 4 days already. Basically every night we've gotten some rain. And it's now almost noon the next day and it's still raining. It's kind of discouraging.
The route we were gonna do just had too much rock fall, so we packed up and quickly got out of there.
So that route's definitely...
that route's definitely out. The whole face is coming down. This afternoon, even if it keeps raining, we're gonna drop down another couple hundred meters, then maybe go around to the other valley and up the glacier and try to pop up onto the ridge line. There's a mini peak we have to go over. It might be knife edgy. The rock up there might be really loose. It's really hard to say.
We're gonna have to go light on this route because we're carrying everything. We're going alpine. So we're gonna probably have to bring a small assortment of pitons and ice screws.
So in a light drizzle, the four of us headed down toward our base camp and then up and around to the northeast into a parallel valley.
When we started, we were in the middle of a cloud, so there's moisture, mist everywhere. First time, Montping had actually put in a fixed line on his very own, without any help. He's very strong, he's Tibetan. He's also very eager.
Before we could get onto the glacier in the new valley, we had to climb up and over a 200-foot rock prow. Montping was proving himself to John and Ma. He was indeed a strong young man.
Well, the new valley seems a lot more straightforward, the glacier.
Yeah, well, we don't know how the ridge is.
No, that'll be different. It's already socking in. Well, this is what we've been negotiating for the last hour. Going over crevasse fields and trying to pick the best, most solid-looking bridge. To this point, we have been real fortunate.
Today we can get up there. If tomorrow we can slowly work that ridge line, go up. We have to go up and then back down. We might be, and then get to the saddle. The saddle is where we would, if we went the traditional route that we were going to, where the rock fall's coming up. That's where we'd work our way back to that on the ridge. Hopefully set up a camp there, and then it's up the face, about 30-40 degree face up to the summit.
The new route started up steep ice, but that wasn't our concern. The weather was unstable again.
另外一个呢，就是说我们这次攀登呢，那个比较陡，这个山比较陡峭，这样子的话呢，对于体力的消耗呢也是比较大。
看过那么长时间的冰，全是冰壁，我们走了2天的冰壁，所以说跟其他的山不一样的。
对于我来说，我也是，就是说，不是在登山的情况下，这样的难度我可能认为不会太危险，不会太难度不会太大。但是呢，如果在登山的过程中呢，登山它毕竟是一个就是说在真实的环境下的一种实践，这个呢，对于我们大家来说，心理压力会非常大。
登山不久，还不到1年，是去年，应该是10月份吧，那是马哥才开始登山。以前我也喜欢山，但是从小，每个假期都要上山打猎，就几天不回家，就喜欢山。所以说，我觉得登山嘛，也是跟这个打猎一样的，打猎也是山上特别的辛苦。然后当时想以后我再也不来打猎了，累得不行。回家以后2-3天就忘记了。登山也是一样的，当时累得不行，但是回家以后几天就忘记了。
Filming on the steep ice face was exciting, but because it was sleeting, windy, and the temperature was just at the freezing point, everything was getting wet, and when you weren't climbing, you were cold.
到这公司以后，没过多久就认识了叫陈山，这是我很幸运，认识他，跟他登山，跟教登山很好，然后，他很多东西，比如说他在他面前做错了，他会仔仔细细的教你怎样做，为什么这样该这样做，这样不错误的要给你纠正过来，他会亲手教你很多东西。所以说我喜欢跟教一块登山，真的。从他身上我学到了不少的东西，包括这次登妖峰，我也学到很多的东西，我以后会努力的学习，他是我一个最好的老师。
The ridge kept getting steeper the higher we went, and with the weather closing in around us, it made it increasingly difficult to see where we were in relation to the rest of the mountain.
Well, as you can see, it's a whiteout. It's been very windy, and we've been continuing up the mountain hoping to find a flat spot to put a tent, and we have been unlucky. It's been nothing but steep snow and ice ridges. So now we've resorted to staying inside a crevasse. How high up are we, John?
5,620 meters.
John, what do you think about this?
What do I think about this? I think it sucks. It's actually kind of cool. In the fracture between where the snow separates from rock, a rock face.
And 4 of us are all jammed into this little area where we put a tent above our heads to stop the condensation of the ice dripping on us, right?
Attached with about 5 ice screws.
Yeah.
Various points within the glacier wall. No sleep tonight.
Sure, there'll be sleep tonight, won't there?
Yeah, but I have a rock up
your butt?
I have a rock many places.
The next morning, we woke and discovered that all our gear, including sleeping bags, was wet. At this point, we had no choice but to descend.
It's a bad day, but it's time we get the hell out of here.
"12 exhausting hours later, we made it back to our base camp on the moraine. For 7 days straight, we gave the mountain our best. It was time to go home.
I was here in May, once here in early October, now we're here in August. I think the next time we'll try is maybe November, late November, December.
This sleeping bag used to have a loft of this high.
天气应该说是非常恶劣，因为我以前也碰到过这种，就是说在恶劣的环境下去登山，但是这一次的话呢，非常的这个座山的话呢是比较难的一座山，包括在中国，就是说在中国的话，可能是我们目前很多的中国的这个攀登者还没有考虑的一座山。
Before I left China, John and I made a pact to return the next year in November. Mountain climbing is all about overcoming obstacles, and Siguniang presented us with many. Most people think climbing is dangerous and that the risks are too high. Sometimes they can be. John and I were fortunate not to have been hit by rockfall. I've spent the better part of my life partaking in sports where risks and obstacles are present. But the irony is that 7 months after returning from Siguniang, I was struck in the head, not by a rock in some wild adventure, but by a branch in my own backyard.
We were cutting down trees in our backyard when a branch from a totally different tree came down and hit Tim on the head. I was able to get out of the way at the last minute, and I turned back around and he was laying flat on his back and he was not moving.
Because I had earplugs in and was wearing a hat with a brim, I never even heard or saw the branch coming.
I just instinctively thought, I've got to call 911.
I never felt I was unconscious. I just remember wondering why I was on the ground and feeling paralyzed.
As soon as he sat up, blood started to come out of his nose and his mouth, and there was a lot of blood. The fear that you feel when you see that coming out of somebody. He didn't know what had happened. He was confused, and he just kept saying, where's the blood coming from? I don't even think he knew it was his own blood that was pouring all over him.
It was a really ugly situation.
They eventually got him onto a backboard, loaded him up into the ambulance, and I rode along in the front seat. For the first part of the drive, everything seemed fine. I was having normal conversation with the driver.
It was strange when suddenly I was having a hard time breathing, and I felt like my heart rate was dropping. I was really becoming concerned because I was losing control of my body, and that's never happened before.
All of a sudden, the guy who was in the back of the ambulance with Tim called up to the front and said, no more stopping at any stoplights. We got to get to the hospital now. And that's when my emotional state changed a little bit.
Head injury from a log, tree limb, bleeding from the ears, lost consciousness.
All these medical professionals literally just swarming around him. They're cutting his clothes off. They had to cut his climbing harness off. And in the middle of all this, he makes eye contact with me across the room, and I go over to him, and the first thing he says is, I still have to climb.
You know, I've had my share of accidents in the past and managed to get back on my feet, but this really scared me.
They assigned a nurse to him to pretty much keep an eye on him all night long because they really weren't sure the extent of his injuries, especially to his brain and the bleeding in the brain. They really weren't sure how he was going to do overnight. They were very concerned about that first night. They had found literally more skull fractures than they could even count. He had fractured both of his eye orbits. He had fractured his temporal lobe. He had a fracture at the base of his skull. His sinus cavities were fractured. He had fractured all the small bones in his inner ear. I just remember sitting there trying to absorb that kind of information and not knowing how somebody recovers from that magnitude of injury. We could literally say at this point that Tim had broken nearly everything from his head to his toes.
You're just a very lucky man that you're doing as well as you are at this point in time.
The doctors at the trauma center were very adamant about him not climbing, especially not at altitude, not taking that risk, not traveling that far away from medical facilities that could help him if something were to happen quickly. They wanted him to be somewhere in civilization, and they didn't want him on the side of a mountain. And I knew that wasn't going to be the case.
I realize how fortunate I am, but I couldn't accept being told that I shouldn't climb to high altitude.
With all of these fractures that I just described, you may never be able to climb at high altitude again.
One of my sinus fractures was beyond the limits of fusing itself back together. The danger is that now I have an open pathway to my brain, which a simple sinus infection could lead to a brain abscess or meningitis.
When several different people told him that he really should consider giving up climbing, that became his next goal, was to prove them wrong and to prove to himself more than anything that he could still achieve all the things that he had in the past and more.
By the 4th week of recovery, the intense headaches were gone, but cerebral spinal fluid was still leaking from my nose. Nevertheless, I was really anxious to start training again. It was very important for me to get back on the hill because I was going to fight this. I was going to get back on the horse and make a go at what I love to do. These hills, this is my sanctuary. This is where I go to push myself, to push my limits. And my body was telling me, you got to start training again. You got to get in shape. So it's important for me to stay at my best peak shape so I can film and climb these mountains. It was really important to see the measurable gains that I was making. So when John called to ask about returning to the mountain, I couldn't say no. I had to go back because it was unfinished business and there was a story to complete now. Even though I had certain issues, I went.
2003 we went, we were just going to hit the mountain. 8 days, get up to the summit, that was the idea, alpine style.
But in 2004, it was an all-out attack on the mountain, with 5 additional Chinese climbers, 2 support personnel from AAIC, 2 reporters from the Chinese media, and major sponsors. Climbing Siguniang became a significant event for the Chinese as well as John and Ma.
John started to teach people how to ski, how to climb, and some climbing skills. And that's very important in China, especially in their beginnings. So John made a very big influence in China.
John, in the past 6 or 7 years, do a lot of things in help Chinese climbing. For example, give some lessons in Shanghai, in Tibet, in Chengdu, in Beijing to a lot of Chinese climbers about rock climbing, ice climbing, and technical mountain climbings.
This mountain is very famous in China. It's very huge and beautiful and very hard to climb. But now only 4 teams climb this mountain successfully. So if we can climb this mountain successfully, that means Chinese climbers have a very good skill and experience to climb technical mountains.
I always joke, I say, come on you Chinese, you're losing face here. All the great routes are being done by the Westerners, get going.
So John's goal in 2004 was to get a Chinese climber on the summit of Siguniang.
Even though we're doing it in a sort of half alpine, half expedition style, if we're able to make the summit of this mountain, I think that'll put a message into the Chinese climbing community about what's feasible in terms of alpine peaks, and kind of make people think, oh yeah, you know, these shorter peaks, you know, they're just as viable as doing like, you know, Everest, and get more people interested in technical climbing, you know.
So if we finish it, I think it's a great accomplishment in China.
We're getting a lot of attention on this peak. People are watching whether we can do it or not. Because most Chinese climbers think, oh, it's not possible. Right now, the Chinese climbing level hasn't gotten there. So if we're able to make it, you know, our team has six Chinese on it, that's going to set, I think, a good precedence for the climbing community over here.
I think we're ready to go.
We're going to make it?
Don't know about that. I think it's the most dangerous part of the trip. Getting to the mountain.
That's right. John and Ma discuss logistics with the village head before Ma returns back to Chengdu. The Chinese climbers will be 2 days behind us.
Well, we're going to have to repack everything today, and so each bag's about 50 to 55 pounds. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. the horses are going to meet us here, and we're gonna load all the bags on the horses. And so we're gonna go in a car and drive up the road for 7 kilometers, and then hike into a place called Ganhaize. Ganhaize in Chinese means dry lake. The horses are gonna take all our equipment up to Ganhaize, drop it there. We're gonna have about 30 porters meet us at Ganhaize, and then they're gonna take all the equipment up to base camp, because the slope up to the base camp is too steep for horses.
I have never seen sheep transported like that before.
I know.
Eventually, these guys will end up on the dinner table further up the mountain. But for now, they are kept alive so the meat won't spoil.
You're not coming, you're lucky.
It's gonna take 5 hours to get to base camp, so and it's already 2:30, so we're not gonna get there before dark, and the porters don't want to go up. So we might be staying here this evening.
Okay.
But then there's the issue of that's an extra day work.
Yep.
So we're calling the head of the village who arranged everything, the horses and the porters. We're calling them on the sat phone.
The national park is keen on seeing the expedition go well. Responsibility flows down to the village head.
Well, John's phone call worked. We're on our way up again. The lush green forest of last year was transformed by the colors of fall.
Okay, here we go again. On our way up. Yeah, we're on our way up.
I have to be more concerned about staying healthy when climbing, especially in remote third world environments. Aside from the dangers of developing a sinus infection, we're still not sure how altitude will affect my health. We were making incredible time hiking up the valley, but when the snow started, the porters became anxious.
Late yesterday afternoon, our porters got up to this point, and our base camp is up there about another 300 vertical feet, or about, let's see, about 400 or 500 yards, just walking. They decided they had enough. They went on strike, they dropped their loads, they said they weren't going any higher, and they went down.
Essentially, we got to take all this gear up there. How many bags?
There's 6 of us now, and I think it'll take us 2 bags plus 3 tents plus some other gear. I think it'll be about 5 trips per person. 5 hours of shuttling back and forth. Okay. What a pain in the ass. That's what happens when your porters go on strike. We brought a generator up to base camp. Yao has been busily wiring our whole entire camp. All 3 of the base camp tents. We're gonna have lighting, and 2 of them are gonna have electrical outlets.
Look at that! That guy did good, didn't he?
We're gonna try to push our base camp up to what's called a glacier camp, more like an ABC. Up onto the glacier. Bring our cook up there as well. Bring all our gear up there. Kind of make like a nice little home, so we can climb out of there. That's about another maybe 2,000 vertical feet. 8 porters are gonna go up with us, carry all our gear, plus we're gonna carry our gear as well. But they might not be able to get onto the glacier. It depends. We'll see how safe it is. Snow, ice, all the conditions.
Fortunately, we were able to get 8 more porters to come up and move gear up onto the glacier.
They're narrow and deep. I don't want to take any chances. We're gonna rope up.
My name is Jun.
My name is Kang Hua.
Jia. Chen. Gan. All right. And
my name is Lao Wang. This is my first time to be on this altitude.
Okay.
Feels so bad.
What is the significance of Siguniang for the Chinese?
It's the first time for Chinese team to climb the Sigunan. We just tried the highest mountain, but not tried the technical mountain in China. So it's very significant in Chinese climbing.
We're going up to the glacier camp, also known as Camp 1. And hopefully we're not coming down again until we make the summit.
How's everybody doing?
Everyone seems to be doing great. They're moving.
Good.
Most of the team is going up here
Could drop a load and go back down to base camp, spend the night. 4 of us are going to stay up here, Camp 1. 4 of us that are more acclimatized. Okay. And then tomorrow we're going to go up and try to fix the head wall.
What do you think about the difference between this year and last year?
Oh, it's so much better. There's more snow, but it's so much more stable. And it's cold as hell. Hopefully it'll make for some really good ice.
Oh, it's very beautiful on the way to Camp 1. And the snow is a little bit soft, but I can handle it.
The Japanese couloir is a 50-degree snow and ice gully stretching 2,000 feet up to the southeast ridge. It also seconds as a dangerous avalanche chute.
From the glacier camp to the beginning of the Japanese couloir, it took us about 1 to 2 hours. The first time going up, I thought, okay, we're gonna post hole, it's gonna be deep. And then we won't have to do it anymore. It was silly of me to think that, come on. We were watching avalanches come down every day. So we'd go up in the morning and we'd punch the holes through. And then the next day, or that evening, or that afternoon, avalanches would, fresh snow would inevitably come down the couloir and cover up all our footsteps. Usually they'd be completely gone. Every time we went up from glacier camp to the bottom of the couloir, we had to post hole again. And we had to go over 2 crevasses. Every time the crevasses would fill in, every time we knew where they are, but sometimes we still step through them.
The first time up here, I punched through 2 of those bergschrunds, and you do start to swim when you get over these things.
Bergschrunds can be a real pain and annoyance to get over. The top lip is always a lot higher than the bottom lip.
A bergschrund is usually the uppermost crevasse on a glacier. It's the transition point where the moving glacier pulls away from the steeper stationary headwall ice, creating a permanent gap.
We've had so many avalanches coming off this face that these bergschrunds are now very well covered, and they're getting harder the more we cross over them.
This year, the mountain was truly a different place. The snow and ice transformed it, and climbing on a beautiful day was pure bliss. I was feeling strong again and haven't had any residual headaches from my injury.
A year ago, you were having rocks fall on your head.
Right here, actually over there.
Yep.
我包给你吧。把我放他那儿。啊，包给你。接一下好吗？啊，等一下。
As John led up the vertical section, the ice was porous, and finding a good ice screw placement was challenging.
怎么样？左边一点点可以，左边一点点也许可以。
往左切。
对，那边可能可以。 Protection that I just put in. We're fixing line right now up the couloir. Angie's is putting another piton in. The rock is really bad, it's flaking off.
Well, it took so much longer than we thought it would. Oh well, it takes a little while to get your rhythm going down again. With new partners. The weather blew in, what do you know? Should we go down?
Let's go down.
Hope the pitons don't pull.
How was last night?
Not bad.
Do we have snow?
Yeah, I think it's 6 or 7 hours of snow.
Are you a little concerned?
Yeah, maybe some small avalanche.
What do you think about the avalanche danger?
Yeah, don't worry about it much. This afternoon it'll come down.
Back at the base of the ice climb, John is putting a directional in. Blue skies right now, it's early morning. We're getting back up to where we fixed line the day before. Oh shit! We got some stuff coming down now. Holy cow.
We had seen the avalanches come down before, and I thought, if one of those comes down, while you're on there, you're dead. And then I jokingly say to Tim, you just want to catch me being wiped out by an avalanche. About 30 seconds later, this huge avalanche just comes down, and well, if I wasn't on the fixed line, it would have taken me out. And I think Tim caught it all on the camera.
We're getting avalanched on big time here. Holy cow, I hope the camera works.
I fucking got that one. Damn it.
You okay? We're getting just pummeled here. The camera's probably not going to work later on this afternoon.
All Tim was doing was complaining about how his camera was broken.
This is bad. We're getting smoked here.
You know, these powder avalanches just kept coming down one after another. I wanted to get all the action on film.
Holy cow.
But the longer I kept the camera out, the more iced up it got. I was really concerned that the camera would stop working altogether.
It's still coming down.
We just look at avalanche from some distance because it's very skillful. This time we met avalanche several times.
Shit, I'm freezing. The lens is a little foggy. More avalanches have been coming down from up there. It's just cascading down on us. We're kind of a hanging belay here for fixing lines.
At the top of the icefall, I had to securing some pitons, and Tim came up then after me, and when we were up there, I looked up, I said, down.
Just when I thought we were finished with the avalanches, I watched John disappear in a white wave.
Oh God! That's where John is, he's right under it.
It was pretty awesome to see it from my vantage point. I figured he'd be all right, only because 15 minutes earlier, we were both engulfed in the same spot.
Right on him. That's where we were.
It was like a freight train, the sound roaring over you.
John, you okay? You okay, buddy? John, you all right?
Yeah, I'm under this protection. Kangwa I'm worried about.
Is he on the face?
I don't know.
Kangwa was okay. The ice cliff shielded him from the force. Regardless of the danger, we continued up the couloir. The gully narrows here, and this is one place you don't want to be if an avalanche comes down.
How's it going, John?
Good. Found some of the old Japanese pitons from 20 years ago. This one's still pretty good. I'm gonna use it. I think we're 400 feet from the top of the
ridge.
Ridge.
Okay.
Yeah, from the couloir.
Okay. We are up here. It's almost 6.
I'd rather wake up at 6 a.m. and come charging up here again than busy up here.
It's probably 12:05. I'm going up the route by myself because I'm running a little late. 3 of the teammates are above, the rest are taking a break. I've made it up the icefall, picked up a tent, 3 canisters of fuel, and I'm now at the first major wrap point. This is some of the equipment left here. Ice screws left here just in case we need them further up. We had to change directions. We were originally going up this gully right here, but that's too steep, so we're going back around, down climb, and up this gully. John's doing a fantastic job of fixing line. Okay, I don't know if you're gonna get any perspective of that, but that's camp. Okay, I'm gonna bring it around. I'm looking straight down, those are our lines. Coming over to Mahiwa. He is at the belay. We've got 2 ice screws holding us in. No falling here is allowed.
I would say for me, the commitment to filmmaking changes my role on an expedition. I find that I can't do the things I might normally do if I were just climbing. Sometimes, just getting the footage for the story becomes more the focus than the task of climbing.
Right there. Okay, got it. All right. Ma's going across.
The higher we pushed up the mountain, and the fact that I was feeling strong, the less I questioned my recovery from the head trauma. I was actually doing better than I thought.
We're getting close to the ridge now. John's leading out and I'm belaying one-handed so I can do this. So June's next to me belaying now. Clouds are coming in.
Ma's bringing up more rope. After 4 days of working the couloir, we finally reached the ridge.
I think I can lead this mountain. It's so technical. If I can make this summit, I will be very happy.
So Judd, okay?
Yeah.
We're at the ridge. The entire ridge looks like that. Corneast.
Up there, you really have to be careful. As soon as you get up, you feel pretty nervous. But then you become used to it, because one little mistake, you'll fall down 1,000 meters.
That's the traverse just came across. Straight down, 2,000 feet.
The winds were beginning to pick up, and clouds were growing dark on the horizon.
You can't see the summit anymore, it's been covered. That is not good news. Every time we've seen that, we have seen big storms come in. And we're a long way from home right now.
The weather changed. It's getting cold.
Storm coming in?
Yeah. Half an hour maybe.
Oh. Oh.
Storm is out there.
Not a good place to be. We need to get going. Are you afraid?
No.
Sure?
I want the wind to go away.
What do you think about the mountain?
Truthfully, it's a lot more difficult than I expected it to be. We got another huge jump last night. They were gonna go up and finish fixing the line. I was so looking forward to that. Oh well.
How much snow did we get?
8 inches?
Probably.
Yeah.
It really came down.
Last night, you could hear the avalanches just huge and peeling off the faces. They go on for seems like a minute.
The trail is gone under deep snow. That means more post-holing to come.
The winds calmed, and by morning, the weather was brilliant.
Climbing, it's amazing. I like it. Last year, I summited Mount Everest. It's hard. It brings me a lot of things I've never learned before. Before that, I was a not very hard man. But after climbing, I think I can do something I cannot imagine before. So that's what I learned from climbing.
The Japanese couloir was now fixed with rope, and getting up to the ridge was just a matter of jugging lines. But the ridge itself was an awkward, exposed traverse over ice and unconsolidated snow.
I know it's going to be steep, but the other side is steeper than this side. It's really a knife edge. Huge cornices. You're going to have to, carefully go along below the ridge on like the 60-degree slope. The exposure, though, being incredible because the drop down is a few thousand feet.
Sigunan is more technical, more steeper than Mount Everest, so it's more dangerous.
Using a shovel to dig out the snow so I could find screw placements. I've climbed with shovels, but I've never climbed with a shovel and proactively used it constantly while climbing.
Getting ugly. Again.
Today, 5 of us shuttled rope and gear up onto the ridge. And because Chow Jun only had 3 days left before having to return to work, he and John set up the ridge camp in hopes of reaching the summit soon. It has been noticeably colder on the mountain. Many of us, including Kang Hwa, were beginning to see early signs of frostbite.
Good luck. Okay?
Thank you.
Andes?
Yes.
Good luck to you, buddy.
Today, Kang Hwa and Chen were taking another tent up to the ridge camp and staying. Meanwhile, Chow Jun and John were fixing line across the pearl necklace.
Following up right now behind me. Over.
Okay, good. What's it look like?
Bucket exposed. It is, I don't know what you call them, kind of like overhanging ice. Snow crystal things, which took me about half an hour to beat up. I had to take the shovel and like they're shoveling above me to make a trail to get up to the ridge. Over.
Well, I hope to be up there tomorrow with you or the next day, whatever works out for both of us. Over.
Once again, storm clouds rolled in, and although Kang Hwa and Chen made it to the ridge camp, Chow Jun descended.
现在风特别大，你说话，我们现在帐篷的声音啊非常响，我听不清楚。他们现在在外面也可能也听不清楚，外面的风也非常大。
谁在说？
那个陈女士。
如果这种情况，我估计可能修路的可能危险比较大，你们要小心。Over。那你们那个4人帐固定的情况怎么样呢？靠人固定了，
人坐在上面。
The wind is very strong. They can't get out of the tent. They should sit in the tent to fix the tent and not blow away by the wind. Wow.
What do you think about this?
We can't fix the left road on Pearl Necklace. That's the way to the summit. So maybe if the weather change bad, we have to come down to take a rest, to wait there for the good weather.
How was it when you were up on the ridge?
Yeah, very exciting. I never saw this topography. You're standing on the left ridge, you can't dare. When you stand in front of the tent, you can't stop shaking.
Really?
Wow, look left, steep, right is steep also.
Drop off both sides? How was the pearl necklace?
Pearl necklace, I think is maybe the most difficult part in this road. It's very steep. I think it's about 75 to 80 degrees. So today it's windy. You can't fix a rope there in this weather.
No.
This kind of weather. It's too dangerous. John is very good climber. He's genius. But also he is very tired, I think.
Yeah.
He better come back and have a break for 2 or 3 days and then make the summit.
我主要是担心2个，一个呢就是现在这个天气可能是一个变坏的一个先兆，第二呢就是John的身体状况。
What's going on, Xiaojun?
I don't know. They don't want to come down.
Doesn't want to come down?
Yeah.
John's been up there 3 days?
3 days, yeah.
It's my time to going down. I have to appear in my office. That's too bad. I like this mountain, but I have no time.
The responsibility of work interrupts even great adventures.
See you, team.
All right, Xiaojun, good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck to you, buddy.
It was unfortunate to see Xiaojun go. I really enjoyed his friendship and his professionalism.
I hope this climbing is successful because we have prepared for a long time. Everybody wants to make the summit.
Within an hour of Xiaojun's departure, the weather broke. John, Chen, and Kang Hua were continuing across the Pearl Necklace.
That's John Otto leading out. Kang Hua and Chen at the belay.
Where are you? Over.
I'm down at Glacier Camp filming you right now. Over.
Chen said you don't want to summit today. Over.
You are going to summit? Over.
I don't know. If you do, then let's take a rest day tomorrow and go the day after tomorrow. Holly sent me a text message saying go for the summit. Over.
If you're not going to summit today, I will be summiting with you. Over.
Yeah, no matter what, we'll stand together. Over.
Well, I've got to say, John, you've done a hell of a job these last few days. Over.
Thanks.
All right, John, I'll let you get back to business and save your batteries. I'll talk to you later. Out.
Chen gets up to me at this point and says, "Oh, should we go for the summit?" He's all like stoked. Weather was changing. I was like, no, let's go down, get rest and do it tomorrow. You know, I really wasn't prepared if the weather turned really shitty.
And the weather did turn for the worse. It's the story of Sigunan.
Avalanche winds blowing by. Whoa.
Whoa! Shit!
That's what the wind's from. It's coming at camp.
Wow, 这个是不小了。
Tell those guys be careful coming down.
We were all posed for the summit, and we were hoping to wake up to beautiful weather. And we woke up to the worst weather we had the entire trip. It's always discouraging when that happens. I think it happens more often than not. But I knew also just if we had one day good weather, we could make the summit. Each day it was blowing and snowing and blowing and snowing, and it just wears you down. Yeah, you're discouraged because you weren't able to go for the summit, and you pack up, the weather just sucked in. It's melancholy is a good word. Clip in the lines, go through the motions, go down.
I went in the big crevasse up there like you did. The whole thing went in. And I was sitting like in a reclining chair with my feet up and my back against the back part of the crevasse. I was like, Kang Hua. And I'm like, maybe in between I don't.
Time was beginning to run out for expedition members, and with the frigid temperatures and high winds, Siguniang was beating us down.
I mean, it got really cold. Winter had arrived.
You're still going up, right?
Yeah, we're going up. Got to cover every piece of skin. Weather like this, wind like this will bring the whatever the temperature is down another maybe 30 degrees. The wind has been getting more and more erratic, blowing harder and harder, huge gusts. It's been snowing more and more. It seems like the only time it's quiet if it's snowing. If it's not snowing, then it's blowing. Anyways, we'll try to get to camp 2. Horses will break down the tents and come down.
Yeah.
Oh well.
How you doing, Chen?
Oh, not good.
Not good.
My throat okay.
We were already on the mountain longer than we planned. We got a weather report that it was going to start clearing up, or that it was going to actually be nice the next day and for the next 2 days. My thought was, if we only have 1 day of good weather, I want to be there to make the summit. I was willing to just go up in the shitty weather and then sit at Camp 2 so I'd be posed and ready to go to the summit on that 1 day of good weather that we get.
So John and Ma headed upward.
Gone, how you feel?
It's okay.
Very cold? Feet okay? He was out for about an hour, and that's what happened already.
Although Ah Gong's feet will be okay, Kang Wa's feet may be another story.
How they feel?
No fear.
Oh, that does not look good. Cold and front pointing, kicking, right?
Yeah. I don't want it cut off.
No, you don't want to lose it.
The route is hard, and now the bad weather is coming.
Winter?
Yeah, winter, cold and wind. If I am the leader today,
yeah,
this weather, I won't
go up.
Yes. Most difficult I have ever climbed.
By morning, the skies were clear, but it was noticeably colder. John's decision to go up yesterday is going to pay off. He and Ma were poised for the summit.
I will, guarantee it.
So with that guarantee, I knew I had to be up there with them. This was the opportunity we had worked for, and after all we had been through on this mountain, I felt determined to stand with them on the summit. By the time I left Glacier Camp, it was already an hour later than when John and Ma left the high camp. After 3 hours of continuous climbing, I reached the ridge camp. Above me, on the summit face, I could see Ma and John, 2 dots getting closer to the top. All I could think of is I gotta hurry. The pearl necklace was a corrugated knife edge consisting of unconsolidated snow. It was without a doubt the most difficult part of the climb. As I crossed the fixed lines, I realized what a remarkable job John had done leading this section. Climbing became the priority rather than the filming, and I knew I'd regret that, but I had to catch them because a fixed line only went so high, and once they left that, they would lead out taking the rope with them. I would have to make a decision to climb on without it.
John and Ma are up there.
I kept yelling, "Tim, coming up!" and he was cruising.
After the accident 7 months ago, I wasn't even sure I'd be able to climb again. But right now, I was feeling confident. John's determination to climb this mountain became infectious. He really inspired me to push on.
Tim's a really fast climber. That's why he's such a good cameraman. All the Chinese climbers were remarking how strong Tim was.
We're very close to the summit now.
Just as we were leaving the fixed lines and our rope was about to leave the top of our anchor on the fixed line, Tim just got there and was able to tie in and buddy up with us to the summit. He didn't even start that early in the morning. He went all the way from our glacier camp, cruised all the way up the fixed lines, caught up with us as we were going towards the summit, and then went all the way back to camp that day.
It was a big relief finally catching John and Ma, and as I waited at the belay, I looked out over the Chongping Valley, and although I was feeling cold, I was smiling inside for many reasons.
Oh, we're here!
Awesome!
After 7 hours of continuous climbing, I finally stepped on top to join Ma and John.
The whole world lies below. Good job, Ma! I made it.
Over a year ago, we descended this mountain wet, tired, and defeated. But today, it was 3 of the original 4 standing on the summit.
John did a fantastic job leading this climb.
Ma Hihua became the first Chinese to summit Siguniang, something previously thought impossible. John Otto was the second American to summit Siguniang. And I was the third.
康华、陈俊池、阿刚刚刚冲顶成功，祝贺祝贺！
All right.
The next morning, Kang Hua, Chen Chun-chi, and Ah Gong became the second, third, and fourth Chinese to summit Siguniang.
Well, the locals had never believed that anyone actually summited the mountain before, no matter what they had been told, even foreigners. So this time, the head of Changping village was helping coordinate parts of our climb. We were always in contact with them, and he knew the day that we were going to summit. So there were a lot of people watching us from Rilong with binoculars, and they actually saw 3 small black dots moving up.
Going home. We didn't climb the mountain alpine style, or for that matter, we didn't even climb a new route. But it was historic for the Chinese, and I'm thankful that I was able to return to the mountain and film it.
It was clear that people were surprised that we actually summited. A lot of Chinese thought it was impossible. Chinese didn't have that skill yet. Climbing in China is high altitude mountaineering. It's not technical mountaineering. We didn't do this mountain alpine style, but you needed to be a confident, good alpine style climber with good ice skills, rock skills, and steep snow slope skills, I think, to be able to successfully climb this mountain.
Going down.
The success of the climb was already in the media. When we arrived in Chengdu, the team was honored at a banquet.
He's good. He's Munan. He's Munan. Agong, how are ya? Yilan, how you doing?
Oh, it was just a lot of fun. Tibet Mountaineering team who just climbed K2, they were there. Heads of the Sichuan Mountaineering Association, other climbers, the famous newspaper reporter who climbed Everest was there. You know, it was his relative's restaurant. We had 2 big round tables with a lazy Susan in the middle. Dishes just keep coming out. Toasting, they come over to our table, we'd have a big toast. We'd go over to their table, we'd have a big toast. Congratulating back and forth. In China, it was considered a huge accomplishment. I think they were a little bit taken aback that we actually made the summit and so smoothly pulled it off. 6 of us got to the summit.
1, 2, 3.
I knew all these people. They're friends or working relationships. They're all self-made, new generation climbers in China.
For John and Ma, Siguniang was the beginning of a bright future for their business in China. Together, they helped to instill confidence in the Chinese climbing community by pushing them beyond their own limits and proving that they had the leadership, skills, and potential to pursue technically challenging peaks. Some people may think I took undue risks returning here. Not to discredit my doctors, they were looking after me. If I accepted the prognosis and never took the risk, I wouldn't know whether or not I could still pursue what I loved, climbing and filming. So in the end, it was a great success. For me, climbing Siguniang represented so much more than just climbing a mountain. And for everyone, it was about reaching higher ambitions. I have come away from this experience with new friends and a new outlook on China, but more importantly, a sense of closure.